Welcome all to this General Evaluator training. General Evaluator is an important part of Toastmaster. As Toastmaster, we are aware that being a Toastmaster, we always try to improve. We always try to keep learning and getting better and better. So that's one of the objectives of having a general evaluator is to keep improving on the meeting of a club. So the next time they have meeting, they can be better and better and better. So as an individual, when we are a general evaluator, there are a lot of things that we learn. We learn about critical thinking. We learn about organization. We learn about what its role plays in the meeting and how the sequence of the meeting. Then that is what we have to know everything. General evaluator have three functions. The first one is introduce the evaluator. The second is introduce and coordinate with the accounter, timer, and grammarian. And the third is giving the general evaluator report. As Toastmaster, I think we know that the meeting has a certain order from the opening to the end. And the job of the general evaluator is to evaluate the meeting from the beginning to the end. So if you remember, if we have a Toastmaster meeting, we have the president open the meeting, and then the Toastmaster of the day, the Tom, will introduce the theme. And then the Toastmaster of the day will introduce the general evaluator, who then introduce his team, his or her team, which consists of timer, accounter, and grammarian. And then the Tom will introduce the prepared speaker, and the evaluator, the general evaluator will call the evaluator to give evaluation. Then after the evaluator finish, then the general evaluator will call the timer, the accounter, and grammarian to give the report. And then at the end, the general evaluator will give the report of his or her evaluation. Yeah, I think it's the same like if we have an evaluation of a speech. When we give a general evaluation, we need to give commendation and recommendation. So basically, we try to lighten up the spirit so they don't feel bad, but at the same time, we want them to improve. So what do you evaluate? There is a checklist which I will share with you, and then there are a few sources which I can provide you. But we look from the beginning of the meeting until the end of the meeting. So we check whether the meeting starts on time, whether everything has been prepared accordingly. Because if an offline meeting, the SAA need to prepare for the room, they need to prepare for the LCD, they need to prepare for the table, etc. So is it really proper?
So we don't evaluate ballot counter.
Ballot counter is in the theme of the general evaluator as well. You will see there's a general evaluator checklist, and I can provide the list for you. So before the meeting, we have to see if the room and equipment set up on time. Were guests welcome upon arrival? Were guests informed about Toastmaster and the meeting format? Yeah. And then when the meeting opening, was the presiding officer prepared and organized? Did the meeting start on time? So we have to check, because if they start late, then we have to comment. Because in Toastmaster, we are always on time. Was everyone properly introduced? Was the Toastmaster properly introduced? Because like from after the president, then the Toastmaster of the day. And then the Toastmaster. Did the Toastmaster fill all rules prior to the meeting starting? Because that also it means like the club is prepared, because I have been to some club meetings and they are not prepared about the role takers. The Toastmaster introduce and explain the meeting's theme, because the Toastmaster need to introduce the theme at the beginning. Did the Toastmaster introduce the general evaluator? And then did the Toastmaster properly introduce the topic master? And then the general evaluator itself, do you introduce the grammarian? Was the grammarian prepared and did they introduce their role within the allotted time? Did the grammarian properly introduce the word of the day? So it's the job of the grammarian to introduce the word of the day. Was the word of the day challenging, appropriate, and fitting for the theme of the meeting? Did the general evaluator properly introduce the timer? Was the timer prepared and did they introduce their role within the allotted time? Did the GE properly introduce the R counter? Was the R counter prepared and did they introduce their role within the allotted time? Was the general evaluator report given? So basically, this is an evaluation of the general evaluator team, because the general evaluator team consists of timer, R counter, grammarian, and ballot counter. And then the general evaluator also need to make the report. And this is what the report is about, what you have to evaluate. And then about the topic master, was the purpose and timing of table topic properly explained? Was the topic selected appropriate and did it fit the meeting theme? Did the topic master call on people who did not have a meeting role first during table topics? Were guests invited to participate? Did the topic master track time to ensure the meeting stay on schedule? Was control properly returned to the Toastmaster? In the topics master, I think you need to also to pay attention when there are guests. The topic master have to introduce what table topics is. A lot of time we assume that people know, but if we have many guests, they don't know. So we have to explain that table topic is actually practicing an impromptu speech, and we need to do so because in our day-to-day life, actually, we are often face the situation when we have to speak without any preparation. And then we have to tell about the time. It's about 1 to 2 minutes. 1 is green, 1:30 is yellow, and 2 minutes is red. And then there is 30-second allotment. Yeah. And also if you have guests or guests, because sometimes we don't know whether the guests have been to Toastmasters before or not. First, it's better for you to call someone who has been familiar with table topics. So if you call guests, they have something to look up to. So they have an example how to do it. So if the topic master is not doing that, maybe you can give a suggestion that in the future, the table topic master is suggested to call a Toastmaster or someone who have delivered table topics speech before, so that the guests know what to do, what to speak, and they are prepared what to expect. Yeah, because I think for a new table topic master, they are probably not aware. And then second, if possible, we give the opportunity to speak table topics to someone who doesn't have a role. Yeah, and if the table topic master doesn't do that, then we can comment that we suggest to give the opportunity to someone who doesn't have the role. And then do we stay on schedule? The schedule, you have to look from the beginning until the opening. So you see whether they open on time and whether they close on time. Yeah, because in Toastmaster, punctuality is very important. And then I would like to share with you the script of the general evaluator script. For you, especially if you are the first time, so not to worry about what to talk, because here we provide the general evaluator script and you can learn from here. So good morning, afternoon, Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmaster, and my dear guest. I am the general evaluator for today's meeting. For the benefits of the guest, my role is divided into 3 parts. 1 is to introduce the evaluators for the prepared speeches. 2 is to call upon the timer, a counter, grammarian, and ballot counter for their respective reports. And finally, I shall give my general evaluation of the overall meeting. And then after the evaluation, then here we are now done with the evaluation round, and we shall move on to the reports of the timer, a counter, and grammarian team. To start off, let's call on the timer of the day, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I think this is the same as what the checklist which we have, but this is like on a different format. For example, timing. Did the meeting start on time? Are all the sessions being conducted on time as per the agenda? Will the meeting end on time? So timing is important. So something which you can comment. We can comment whether it's good or needs improvement. So if they are good, we can say the meeting is good that it started on time and ending on time. Yeah. And then the role players. Did everyone explain their roles well? Because if you remember, we introduced, like after the Tom introduced the general evaluator, then the general evaluator introduced the timer, the counter, grammarian, and ballot counter. And in many cases, we ask them to introduce themselves. So we introduce the timer, and then the timer have to explain what is the role of a timer and what is the role of the counter, what is the role of a grammarian, what is the role of the ballot counter. Yeah. Meeting conduct. Were there any issues with the venue? If it's offline, it's venue, but if it's online, then certainly about how the room, how the Zoom room is open, whether it's open on time, whether the breakout room, if we need a breakout room, have been set up, etc. But this is like, I think they have it as if this is offline. Technical, were there any technical errors? Was the mic loud, clear enough? Did the projector work fine? And then the sergeant at arms. Was everything prepared in advance? Efficiency on how well the room was set up? How was the break? Did he or she warm up the audience well? So if, let's say, in a meeting, they don't greet the guests either at the beginning or at the end, then you could suggestion on how to improve. Because if the guests feel comfortable and it seems like they are greeted, it's more likely that they will come back to the next meeting. Yeah. So if they don't greet the guests, you can comment, you can suggest that next time try to greet the guests, or if someone is in charge of greeting the guests, then it's better because then we know that someone is in charge. Yeah. And then president, how were the opening remarks? Did he or she manage to inspire or motivate the audience? Toastmaster of the day. Was the Toastmaster of the day engaging and entertaining? Because see, the tone of the meeting, it is actually determined by the Toastmaster of the day. So the role of the Toastmaster of the day is very, very important, because whether the meeting is gloomy or the meeting is fun or the meeting is enjoyable depend a lot on the Toastmaster of the day. And to make the meeting good or well, then as a general evaluator, we should comment if they could improve on the next meeting. Was the Tom engaging and entertaining? How was the theme? Did he or she explain for the benefit of the guests what a Toastmaster meeting consists of? Timekeeper, explanation of cue cards, importance of timing in public speaking. Were the comments clear and audible? And then speech evaluator. Comment on each evaluator individually and give commendation and recommendation to each of them. This one, if you see in general, we don't really comment too long on the speech evaluator. Only if you see something which really you think that you need to convey either the commendation or recommendation. Table topics master, were the topics easy to understand, were the topics fun and entertaining, was there a good mix between guests and members? Yeah, so we gave the opportunity to guests and members because a lot of members are also looking forward to practice on table topics. So not just guests. Grammarian, did he or she talk about the importance of good grammar in public speaking? Were the comments clear and audible? A comment of the word of the day. A counter. Did he or she talk about the importance of avoiding filler words in public speaking? Were the comments clear and audible? Try and provide at least one compliment and one recommendation to each of the role players. Up to this, do you have any questions?
As a table topic master, if the participants already take roles and in the meeting only few guests, can table topic master take participant for table topic from the role taker?
Yeah, sure. It's no problem. It's just like if there are too many people, then of course give priority to guests and non-role takers. But if we only have a few people and time allow, then yes, certainly. Because even the role takers, probably some of them would like to practice their table topics. So that's okay.
Yeah. Maybe for the timer, someone can handle it for a while.
Yes, somebody can replace him, yeah, or her. Yeah. Okay, yes, Fifi?
What time actually we should present the GE report? Because we don't have much time, right?
Okay. In general, I would say, if possible, keep it within 3 to 5 minutes. But I see like some GE talk very long. If possible, try to be concise, but get to the point on how the club have done, so the positive things, and also what your recommendation is. Some general evaluator give table topic evaluation, because in our club, in most of the club, we don't have table topic evaluation, but that is optional, because if you do have the TTE, the table topic evaluation, then of course the general evaluator report will be a lot longer. Yeah, and some general evaluator also give comments to each of the speech. So it really depends whether you have a lot of time or not. You can see the agenda and see whether you have time or not. If you have time, you can comment, because in some of the meeting, I also evaluate, give a little bit comment on each speaker, on the table topic speaker, if I have time. But in general, the speech itself, if there's really nothing you need to comment, it's okay if you don't give any comment. Yeah. Being a general evaluator benefit us, because being a general evaluator, it means that we have to know everything. So you have to be experienced. So as a general evaluator, we practice our critical thinking, we practice our organization, we practice about leadership as well, actually, because we have a team.
And also our listening skill, Burona.
Yes, and also listening skill, because we need to listen and to see. Like in a speech, we get evaluated in a speech. In a meeting, then the general evaluator evaluate the meeting. The purpose of all of this is basically giving feedback, the positive and negative, and for improvement for the future. So as a general evaluator, we contribute to the club. We can be general evaluator in our own clubs or in other clubs, because I think it's also good for a club to get a GE from another club, because then it can give a different perspective. Because if we used to do it, then we think that our club is already very good. But if somebody else come to our club and then they see something which we don't see. So if we are a GE, actually we are also get invited to be a GE in another club because they want our input as well. General evaluator is a very important role in Toastmaster, and you can contribute on how to improve the meetings.